Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Edgeverse TechCast. This is a great place to learn more about NXP software, tools, and enablement. If you're developing with NXP processors and our microcontrollers, you are in the right place. I'm one of your hosts, Kyle Dando, and Bridget, selecting the topic for today's episode was pretty darn easy. Pretty much we were told what we should talk about by you, the listeners. There's been an overwhelming interest in one of our most recent episodes.
That's right, Kyle. And everybody, this is Bridget Stone, your other co-host. We're following up on our most downloaded episode ever, our first look at the Cyber Resilience Act. If you missed it, definitely go back and give it a listen after this one.
Bridget, you might almost say it went viral.
You might, Kyle, and for good reason. As a result, we asked Sabina Bruce for more. Sabina was adamant that we invite our cybersecurity certification expert, Carlos Sarratos. Carlos can give more information about himself, but real quick, he will provide more information about the CRA that you are all interested in.
Well, welcome, Carlos. Bridget is not lying. The first episode on CRA had a huge, wide audience. The tracking software shows global interest. We had tremendous amount of downloads. Every time I log in, it seems like it doubles. So there's a lot of interest in CRA. So thank you, Carlos, for helping us provide the audience with some more details about what they're so interested in.
Sure. Yeah. First of all, thank you for the invitation. I listened to Sabina's episode and I really like the foundation that she set. I'll try to provide some more details on topics that I had as questions from the customers. Maybe really quick, something about myself and how I got involved on the CRA. I'm working in the security certification team at NXP as an expert in cybersecurity regulatory compliance. We have seen a huge increase in new security standards and policies in consumer, medical, automotive, and industrial applications. And they are looking to encourage developers to take ownership for the security of their products. This is the case of the CRA, where I have been involved for the past few years in the legal and standardization aspects. Currently, I'm also part of the NXP CRA Implementation Task Force.
Well, thanks for being here, Carlos. I'm going to just kick us off. This will be an easy one. How is NXP supporting customers as they prepare for third-party assessments, especially for important Class 2 and critical products?
We are approaching the CRA from two angles. First, NXP products placed in the European market will obtain the CE mark as they will be CRA compliant. From that perspective, we are preparing to address all our obligations within the CRA with that objective in mind. Second, our customers are looking to us for support, not just on third-party assessments in Class 2 products, but also for self-declarations in the default and the Class 1 products.
So it sounds like an area where customers are really going to lean on NXP for guidance. And is the support different depending on the conformity assessment, whether it's self-declarations or third-party assessments?
On the contrary, we are looking to simplify the effort for our customers. We will make sure the security functionality offered by our products and the robustness of the implementation is clearly visible and understood not just by our customers, but also by the conformance and surveillance authorities. In the case of self-declarations, this simplifies the process as the customers can point to the security functionality in our products as part of their declaration of conformance. For certain products, we will perform third-party assessments. And we are doing this today with common criteria for high-end security products and with CESIP for the rest of the products. This approach can further simplify the third-party assessment when the evaluator focuses on the proper integration rather than testing the security functionality from the component.
So if I heard you correctly, Carlos, NXP helps the customer spend less time worrying about the security conformance of the NXP component they're using. It leaves them more time to design and test the value add that they're putting into their product.
Yes, that's correct.
All right, Carlos, next question. What if I am a customer that has a product already released in the marketplace? If it has an NXP MCU or MPU in it, what do those customers need to do?
There are two very important activities developers need to perform. First, make sure to address any potential vulnerability. And maybe that there is a guidance document that needs to be followed or a patch that needs to be applied. It may turn out that the product is all sound and secure. Still, if that's the case, it's important to document that this is the case and that the verification has been performed. The second important step is to perform the risk analysis and identify all the necessary countermeasures that may be necessary to apply in order to mitigate any residual risk and prevent potential vulnerabilities from being exploited at the product or system level. And communicating to the user of the product what they need to do if they need to do something to mitigate any residual vulnerability.
So, Carlos, the CRA enforcement deadline is December 2027. How is NXP aligning its product roadmap to meet that timeline?
At this moment, we are updating our processes to make sure that all the new product introductions are CRA compliant as soon as the CRA compliance can be claimed, which is something that we depend on the implementation by the European Commission, probably beginning of 2027. And that's about new launches. But let's don't forget, we also have a large portfolio of products today. We are working towards similar timelines of compliance for those products as well.
So, in preparation for this episode, I spent a little time researching a website. It was cra-ready.org.
You are full of surprises, Kyle.
You know, Bridget, I'm just trying to keep up. Well, the site covers some of the principles for building resilient and trustworthy systems. It introduced the concept of security by design. So, Carlos, can you walk us through how NXP is applying these security by design principles early in the MCU and MPU development process to help meet these CRA requirements?
It's simple, Kyle. At the beginning of the product development, we envision the use cases and functionality applicable to the products. We implement the adequate countermeasures to support our customers' applications. We do this based on our long tradition and experience from the development on products for the high-end security domain, like the secure elements. And we have been cascading this expertise to other product lines over the past year, as this aligns pretty well with the CRA requirements.
Okay, well, you just said that you are expanding these best practices to our other product lines, but this is not new, right? NXP's been doing this for a while.
Correct. We have in this path for many years. We have an in-house program called the HLOC Assurance Program, which is our trademark commitment to security. It goes beyond designing a secure product, includes protecting our IP, physical and IT security, security training to our employees, and implementation of secure processes. And by the way, our design and manufacturing processes are certified by standards like the ISO 21444 for automotive, the IEC 62443-4-1 for industrial applications, and the IEC 81001-5-1 for medical. And this is how we integrate security by design beyond the CRA and embedded as part of the DNA of NXP.
And Carlos, I know you touched upon this a little bit earlier, but are there specific verticals like industrial, medical, or automotive where NXP sees the biggest CRA impact or opportunity?
I love this question because you're right. The CRA is a European regulation, but there is a lot happening outside Europe as well. Plus, the CRA doesn't apply to medical and automotive products. Yet, there is a very strong interplay between them. For example, the IEC 62443 standard applicable for industrial application is used as a reference for the development of CRA standards. And we already have solutions for this standard, which as a consequence will enable the CRA conformance as well. Automotive, that's another example. The regulation, the R155, has been enforced for a few years already. We have been providing support to OEMs looking to address ISO 21434 conformance. And while the vehicles and vehicle systems don't have to comply with the CRA, the components used by them must comply with it. Our approach to NXP product security facilitates manufacturer CRA conformance while addressing other conformance requirements for specific verticals like automotive and industrial, and even outside Europe.
So those are great points, Carlos, for our listeners. CRA isn't reinventing the wheel on security. All it's doing is trying to regulate the best practices and make sure that the products are adopting them. So a company like NXP that has already been satisfying these stringent industrial and automotive requirements that you just outlined has a proven track record. We've supported these requirements and our products meet the restrictions so that our customers can easily meet them. Now our final question, Carlos. You've done a great job, so knock this one out of the ballpark and close strong. In your experience working with customers, on the CRA implementation, what are the biggest challenges that these manufacturers are facing?
Great question. On that one, we can say that the biggest challenge still today is knowledge. For example, there are many developers who are not familiar with the CRA at all. or they assume the CRA won't apply to their products. There is also the belief that the CRA will apply to new developments only when in fact the CRA will apply to any product sold in Europe, regardless of when the product was first introduced. There is also confusion with products in the default category. Some people assume that those products stand for basic security or partial security implementations or anything on that direction. There is nothing far from the truth, because the products in the default category have to comply with the same obligations as any other product in any other category, including critical products. The only difference is that the mechanism to demonstrate conformance implies a self-declaration. This carries also a risk for those developers, because an incorrect declaration of conformance carries exactly the same penalties like any other product. Therefore, it's important that manufacturers of products in the default category perform a proper risk analysis like any other product. They select adequate components for the use cases, implement the vulnerability management policies, and fulfill all the other applications as any other product. At NXP, we are already working not just to fulfill our own CRA conformance, but we are also preparing ahead with materials that will help our customers to meet their conformance obligations as well, regardless where the product they have to address conformance is default, class 1, class 2, or critical products.
I would say that's a very strong finish, Carlos. Thank you. That wraps up our deeper dive into the CRA. Hopefully you learned something new from this quote unquote viral topic. If you've got a question we didn't cover, drop it in the comments. We'll make sure you get an answer. Carlos, thank you again for joining us today and sharing all these insights.
Thank you for having me on the show.
Absolutely, Carlos. You did a great job. It was a great discussion, and I know our listeners appreciate the clarity that you brought to a pretty complex topic. To everyone tuning in, if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to follow, like, or subscribe so that you never miss an Edgeverse TechCast.
Until next time, keep innovating and stay secure with NXP. We'll catch you on the next episode of the Edgeverse TechCast.